Today is August 1st, and I am taking stock today of all of the beauty products that I have been testing over the last 2 months. If you watch me, you have probably seen me give a first impression of probably every product in this basket. But today, I am here to share updates on these beauty products because as I have continued to use them, in some cases, maybe I didn't like it upon first impression, and now I do. And the opposite is true for some of these products. So I want to take you through these category by category and tell you what I'm thinking of them today. I will also give comparisons between products within the same category, although I won't be doing a ranking. I just want to give you more information so that if you're looking for a new blush or a new lip oil or something like that, you can sort of think about each product in the context of all the ones that I am sharing with you today. I am also going to share some information about eyeshadow products I have been testing. Now, I did just upload an eyeshadow palette ranking video, and I will link that down below if you want to see it. But I'm going to cover some eyeshadow today because there's some eyeshadow products that I've tested that technically aren't palettes, and so I did not include those in my ranking. I am going to include timestamps down below so you can choose your own adventure and pick which categories you are most interested in seeing. I hope all of this sounds good to you, and if it does, let's get into that first category. We're going to kick it off with a fun one, looking at blush. This is one of my favorite makeup categories. I have been testing a ton of blush over the last 2 months. I mean, this is a ton for me. Let's get into each of these, starting off with the two most recent additions to my collection. First up, let's talk about the Dior Rosy Glow Powder Blush. This costs $42, and I got it in the shade Rosewood. I absolutely love this blush. The color is beautiful. The formula is so smooth. It applies beautifully. Let's start a blush arm. It's so soft, and the color, like I said, is gorgeous. And this is a blush that I find I can dip in really lightly and just apply a touch, but it also can be built up to be much more impactful. I do think that this is a color that could work on a lot of different skin tones. Obviously, I have to be a little bit more careful because I'm so fair. I do not regret this purchase at all. The pigmentation on this is fabulous. Next up, let's take a look at this new blush from Ilia. This is the Soft Focus Blurring Blush. This retails for $36, and I decided to go bold here. Now, first up, before we get into the color, the opening on this is a little bit awkward. Here is the shade that I got. This is Sensation, which is described as a berry rose. You don't have a mirror here. What it lacks in terms of luxurious packaging, it more than makes up for in terms of payoff. Now, like I said, I decided to go bold here with a very sort of deep color, I think, for my skin tone, and that's because I have so many blushes that I've been bringing into my collection, and I thought, well, I cannot get just another sort of standard colored blush. I'm gonna just swatch that upside the Dior. These shades do not look that different. Maybe, you don't want to spend the $42 on the Dior. You want something that still performs really well and looks beautiful on the cheeks. I can tell you that the Ilia blush does all of that. This is considered a blurring blush, so when you apply it, it is going to help create that blurred out, more sort of airbrushed finish, and I think it lives up to those claims. So this is a fabulous blush. And now let's get into the Say blushes that I picked up over time. Technically, I only picked up one of these shades in June, I believe. The others maybe I picked up in May, but I wanted to pull all of them out so that I could show you swatch comparisons against one another. So this is the Super Suede Baked powder blush. These retail for $28. You probably recall the complaints that some people had that the packaging on these feels cheap. The packaging does not bother me. Let me just get that out of the way. I'm much more focused on the performance of the blush. And again, this more than makes up. This is even a little bit more inexpensive than the Ilia. So great value there. I'm kind of trying to decide which one to pull out based on what might be closest. I think I'm going to go here. This is the shade Grazie is what I have decided to call it. So let me swatch this one for you. Again, very, very smooth and buttery. Yes, it's possible that I have picked up 3 blushes that look almost exactly the same on the cheek. Yep, totally possible. But like I said, I love blush. And hey, I am here to test these things for you so that you know what may be right for you. Let's grab Mia next, because this may be pretty close to Grazie. So Grazie is described as a bright berry, whereas Mia is described as a soft rose. So let's get that one here. So that one is a little bit softer, not quite as bright. So something to keep in mind, again, depending on your skin tone. And then finally, let's look at Amore. Yes, Amore. And this is described as a bright fuchsia. Yes, another bold choice for me. I'll put this one down here. Woo! So guys, listen, before I move on to the 2 Hourglass products, I just want to tell you, I do not think you can go wrong with any of these blushes. I think the trick is, what is the price point you want to pay? What is the experience that you want from a packaging standpoint? But performance-wise, I don't think you would find yourself unhappy with any of these powder blushes. So let me close those up, and we are going to talk briefly about 2 Hourglass blushes. This is a liquid blush, and it's just a mini of the Unreal Liquid Blush. This is in Scene, which is a soft, warm pink. The full size of this comes in more sort of almost like a dropper. Some people were not thrilled with that packaging, but if you get the little mini, you do get this little doe foot applicator, which I think can make application really, really easy. So obviously this is a very different kind of blush, and I'm going to put 2 little dots there and just sort of blend that out with my finger. And this is a much more subtle blush, but it can be built up. So if blush makes you a little bit nervous, you're not comfortable wearing some really bright blush, then this blush might be a great option for you. And again, I mean, it is a soft, warm pink, so I'm sure they have brighter shades in that as well. And the final blush that I want to talk to you about is actually a part of the Hourglass quad that I customized. Now, you cannot customize this now. I don't think they're offering this anymore, but there are 2 shades in here that are a part of their permanent line. And I think that both of these shades are going to be offered in the holiday palette releases. This is the blush and this is the bronzer, which we're going to talk about next. This blush in particular is called Mood Exposure, and it is described as a soft plum. You can get this as a single in the travel size for $30. And this is another really, really subtle blush. Great for people with fair skin, which is why I picked it, because I do have one of the holiday Hourglass palettes that I picked up, the butterfly palette, a couple of years ago, and they are much brighter. And I'm not complaining about that. Clearly, I do not have a problem with bright blush. But there you can see what that soft plum looks like. Again, this is called Mood Exposure. I think it's really, really beautiful as well. The blush releases, they've just been hitting it out of the park. And again, like I said, I don't think you could go wrong with any of these. I would highly recommend any of them. I loved them all when I first tried them, and I still love them today. Let's now move our blush out of the way, and we are going to talk about the bronzer in this palette. It's actually the only bronzer that I tried during the June-July timeframe. If you are someone with fair skin, I think that this could be a great bronzer for you. I do not feel like I have to worry at all about things getting sort of muddy or my face looking dirty or anything like that, which is the kind of thing that I have to worry about with bronzer products. So this is in the shade Diffused Bronze Light, which is described as a cool bronze with soft yellow. You can get this in the travel size for $30. It's in the larger size as well, but that's more expensive. And I am just going to swatch this for you so that you can see what that looks like on my skin. It's very light, guys. But I think you can see how, if you're someone with fair skin, this is a bronzer shade that I don't think you have to be afraid of. I hope that is showing up on camera. That is it for bronzer. And with that, we are going to move on to lips. We have a whole range of different types of lip products here. I am going to sort of separate them even further into categories based on what they claim to be. And that's an important distinction because there are a lot of things out there today calling themselves lip oils, lip balms. The one difference would be Lisa Eldridge, who is the only one who has said, yes, I am a lipstick, but some of these others, we need to get them in better categories. So let's do that. Let's start off with Miss Lisa Eldridge and this lipstick that is a new release. This is the Rouge Experience Refillable Lipstick, and I picked this up in one of her newest shades, which is Toasted. This was a part of her summer release with the Desert Gleam eyeshadow palette and was definitely me stepping outside of my comfort zone in terms of a shade. This retails for $59 if you buy it in this nice, luxurious, refillable case, which it is impeccable. Very heavy, weighted, gorgeous. The lipstick itself, if you were to just want to buy the refill size, which they come with caps, so you can do that, is $30. So a pretty expensive lipstick, even without the high-end packaging. So let's just swatch that here. It is definitely toasted. It is, I think, described as a bit of a neutral, but that comes up pretty warm. I think this shade is not great for me. I know that these sorts of shades with this kind of tone is really popular. At the end of the day, it being popular doesn't mean it's right for you or that it's gonna really enhance your beauty. So I think only you can decide if this is a shade that possibly works for you. Let's get into things that call themselves lip oils. And we've got an interesting range here. So first up, I want to talk about the Lip Nectar from Violette FR. This is described as a hydrating lip stain, but I believe she does refer to it as a lip oil. I love this gold lid. It makes it really, really easy to pick out in a sea of other products. It's very distinctive looking. There's this really nice doe foot applicator here. It has a nice tip to it. This color is Batiste, which I really, really love. It is a great sort of everyday shade for me. This feels phenomenal going on. So it definitely feels like a lip oil when you apply it, but the real benefit here is that stain. I think this is the best lip stain that I have ever tried. This gives the most even stain of any that I have ever seen. So let me see if I can sort of spread that out a little bit, and then maybe once we get to the end of the swatches, I will wipe away sort of the glossiness there so that you can see the stain that is left behind. Another thing that is Called an oil is this newest release from Charlotte Tilbury. This is her Unreal Lips Healthy Glow Nectar Oil. This is $25. And by the way, I think I forgot to mention that the lip nectar is $29, which I think is a phenomenal price for what you're getting there. But back to Char. I got mine in Juicy Licious Cherry Glaze. I really expected this to feel more like a lip balm than a lip oil because it is in this squeezy tube, and I was pleasantly surprised. This actually does go on like a lip oil, meaning that it's a little bit thinner, but it still has that gloss and the high shine that you typically would see with a lip gloss. It does have a light scent to it, although I don't notice that it has much of a flavor. So I know some of us like for our squeezy tube products to have a nice little taste to them. Now, let's talk about these two from Say. This is the Glossy Bounce High Shine Hydrating Lip Gloss Oil. I kind of make fun of products like this where it's like they got in all the words so that they could market to as many people as possible. These are $22 a piece. I got Remix. This is the Mauve Shimmer, and Play, which is the bright pink. This is calling itself a gloss oil, and I would definitely say this is more of a hybrid because it is thicker than the other lip oil products, and it's still glossy, meaning that you are getting that sort of shimmery wet finish, but I will say that these are not sticky like a gloss. So let me get these swatched. This is Play. Really, really pretty. And you know, they're going to sheer out a little bit when you apply them to the lips. It's not going to look quite as hot pink as it does in that container. This one is called Remix, and this is the Mauve Shimmer. You can see when I first sort of touched down, there's more body to it, so I think you can also kind of build these up, not shear them out as much. So like I said, I feel like this is really a gloss oil hybrid in that they're thicker than a traditional oil, but they're not sticky. This little baby here is a mini that I got of the Valentino Puffer Complex Lip Plumper Gloss. This is the only plumper in the bunch. I typically stay away from lip plumping products because I cannot stand that uncomfortable burning or tingling. And this is in the Mermaid, I'm sorry, I was about to say Mermaid Shimmer. It's Dazzling Mermaid. And you can see there's a little bit of color on the applicator because I applied this over some other lipstick. And let me just get a little bit of that down. I don't know if you'll be able to see the shimmer in there. Get a little bit more. We want you to see the glitters. This was a bearable plumper. Okay, yes, it did start to burn and tingle. I'm not inclined to put myself through that. I will tell you that it subsided pretty quickly in terms of that discomfort. This in the full size is $38. Okay, now we are getting into the things that call themselves lip balms or lip treatments, which if you called yourself a lip treatment, I'm throwing you in the balm category. This is a mini of the YSL Candy Glow Tinted Butter Balm. And I got this in Nude Lavalier, which is a sheer pink nude. If I can open it. Hello. Okay. Now, this is interesting because to me, this really looks like a lipstick. I don't really think of this as looking like a balm. It does feel very smooth and hydrating when you put it on. Does not have a ton of pigmentation to it, and so maybe that's why they called it a balm. If I'm going to put something on that's in a bullet, I want something that has more pigmentation than this. This at full price is $43. I think that's a pretty penny for something that doesn't really show up all that well. And now we have two squeezy tubes remaining here. We have the Supergoop Glow Gloss SPF 40. So this is the only SPF lip product in the bunch. This is actually the first SPF lip product that I've ever tried. And I am not quite sure how I feel about this. I got Pink Peppermint, which is described as a sheer pink. This costs $22. I think this tastes funny. Even when you are experiencing the taste that they intend, the peppermint tastes synthetic. You don't want to taste something on your lips that tastes like has like a chemical sort of taste to it. I will definitely not be trying another shade in this. I want to do some research to see if there are other lip balms that are worth trying that are SPF. And in fact, if you've tried any that you think are really great, please let me know in the comments below, because I am a big SPF lover. And in fact, we are going to talk about SPF products in just a bit. So that leaves the Hula Henriksen Pout Preserve Peptide Lip Treatment, and this one is $23, so I think very, very well priced. I got the shade Lincolnberry Jam Glimmer, so they had like 3 shades that were in a glimmer. I wanted a darker shade that was going to leave more color on my lips. Now, this does not come across as like this weird purple on my lips. On my lips, it just adds enough tint to where, you know, my lips don't look totally pale. Not only does this have a sweet sort of jammy scent, it also has a little bit more flavor than, say, the Charlotte Tilbury, and I find it quite pleasant. I have been absolutely loving this one. I mean, from the moment I put it on, I was impressed with how sort of plush and luscious it felt, and I really, really, really enjoy wearing this one. You know, out of the squeezy tubes that are here that I've tried most recently, this one is great. I do love the Charlotte Tilbury, even though this is technically more of a lip oil. I do really love this one. And then the other that I would pick out as a favorite, and you probably guessed this, is the Violette FR. And speaking of Miss Violette FR, let's wipe away the shine that is left there and see what it looks like with just the stain. So, this is the second one here. And there is the stain that is left behind. I find that I can keep a stain like that all day through eating, drinking, talking on the phone, and continue to cover it over the course of the day if I want with a clear or very light sort of lip balm, just to get some hydration back in. But I really, really love it. So that is a lineup of all of the ones that I have shared with you today. And I am going to wipe all of them away now. Hold on, I'm just sort of curious if any of these others will leave any kind of a stain. And I think you can see that they did not. I'm wiping the Violette FR a lot more forcefully now, and I think you can see the stain hung on. So wiped away that lipstick. Yes, Violette FR stands alone. That is everything that we have today for lips. And I think that means that it is time to get into mascara. Okay, mascara, a category where I have definitely been trying to sort of expand my wings a little bit. I tend to find something that I like and just stick with it without trying anything new. And for a very, very long time, I just used Tower 28 Make Waves mascara on repeat. Still a great mascara, but now that I have more lashes, thanks to the Swede Eyelash Growth Serum, I am getting out there and trying more volumizing mascaras. And we will just start off there talking about this YSL Lash Clash. This is a mascara that really I found pretty intimidating. I thought that is not going to work for me. I am just going to end up with clumps on my stubby little lashes. But now that I have more lashes and I have actually tried this mascara, I have quickly fallen in love with it. This is in their brown shade. So this is Uninhibited Brown, and a full size of this mascara costs $34. I have had to sort of stop myself from going out and buying like multiple tubes of this. If you want a mascara that gives you tons of volume and length, I think this YSL Lash Clash is phenomenal. Another mascara that I have tried recently is this Roller Lash from Benefit. This is a curling and lifting mascara that retails in its full size for $29. I've been testing this out and most recently testing it without curling my lashes to see, does it actually help with curling? I think that it does have a little bit of impact. Certainly doesn't replace curling my eyelashes with an eyelash curler. Just for where my lashes are today, I do think that they look better with the YSL Lash Clash versus the Roller Lash. Now, if I want my lashes to look really, really good, then my new favorite mascara is the Cloud Mascara from Swede. This retails in the full size for $30 and it provides both volume and length. And just open this up. I love that it's got this really tiny wand. I guess really the wand isn't tiny, it's the little bristles on there that are really short. And the reason that I like that is because I don't have to worry as much about hitting my skin around my eyelashes. So as I'm trying to really get to the root of my lash, because those little bristles are so small, I'm able to get in really close to the root and sweep through without getting this all over my eyelid or under, my eyes. So I absolutely love this, and I think this is a great volumizing mascara, which may be surprising, again, given the shape of this wand, but this is fabulous. This is fabulous. The last one that I want to talk about is this Lisa Eldridge Kitten Lash Mascara in Burnt Umber. So I picked this up again as I was buying the Desert Gleam eyeshadow palette. This is definitely a brown mascara. In fact, I think it looks sort of reddish brown. When I first tried this, I thought, oh, this is great. I really like this. And then I went on to try these two. And Miss Kitten Lash just could not compete. Absolutely could not compete. So, I mean, yes, it's a beautiful mascara, and I love the packaging. I love the aesthetic of Lisa Eldridge and her brand, but it just does not stand up in terms of performance to the YSL Lash Clash or the Swede Cloud Mascara. So, these two would be the ones that I would recommend to you if you are looking to try a new mascara. With that, let's move on to talking about foundation. Okay, I only have one foundation to talk to you about today, and it is this Benefit the Professional Foundation. And this is a pretty recent purchase, but I have been trying it and trying it and trying it in multiple ways, different application methods, so that I could give you a review on this. And, my initial impression was that it was not a great foundation, okay? That it really did not help with the look of my pores, even when I first applied it. And I would say that my impression of it has only gotten worse. I mean, guys, look at how like cakey that is. Can you tell that? I mean, it is just, I don't know. I mean, it really, I know it's a medium coverage foundation. I know, okay? But I still feel like it is really cakey for a medium coverage foundation. I have other foundations that are medium coverage that don't have that sort of cakey feel when you put them on. One of the things that I've tried is really applying a lot less. A little bit goes a long way. Okay. And that's good, right? That means you're getting a lot for your money if this works for you. But even in those cases, when I apply this, I can get it to look good when I first apply it. Okay. I do have to apply powder over it to get a more blurred effect. But even if I can do a bunch of things to make it look good, when I first apply it, within a couple of hours, it looks awful. There is a real problem When the entire selling point of your foundation is that it is going to blur your pores and make them look non-existent, and it can't do that. That is just shocking to me for this product, that they could be so off on fulfilling what is the main promise for this product. In fact, I'm going to return it. That is my tale on foundation. So with foundation out of the way, let's take a moment to talk about powder. I have two loose powders here that I have been testing. As you know, I know that the day is going to come that I run out of my OG Prism Liebe loose setting powder that has more of sort of a matte finish, and I am going to need something else to satisfy my powder needs. And I finally tried the Huda Beauty loose setting powder that is for baking and setting, and this is a new packaging concept for their mini, which is part of the reason that I went ahead and picked it up. So it does have a screw off cap, and instead of the puff being embedded in the cap, you do get this little puff here that you can just sort of slip onto your finger. And yeah, sometimes I'm smart and don't store the puff inside the powder so that I don't end up with this much powder on my puff at one time. Just another thing to note on this product is that you can pop this cap out so that you can access all the powder inside. I really, really love this powder. I think it does a really great job, and it is right there on the edge of being as good as my Prism Libre. I got the shade Sugar Cookie, and this is $23. Now, I decided to also try a powder that was more of a throwback. No, I do have other Hourglass products that I love, so I decided to pick up a mini of the Veil Translucent Setting Powder. The mini here is $26. And when you open it up here, you can see that there is no puff or anything included, and it does have, you know, this sort of standard H here for Hourglass. As you can see, there's a difference in terms of the color here in the Huda. Hold on, let me open Miss Huda back up. I picked a powder here that was obviously very, very light for a reason. Hold on, let's powder that terrible foundation that I put on a moment ago. Okay, so I'm trying to, you know, blur out all the pores that showed up when I put on the Benefit Professional. So you can see how light that is, and I love it for that. This translucent setting powder definitely has more sort of peachiness to it. You know, obviously you don't want to overdo it, how much you're using. It is a beautiful, finely milled powder. I just think that in terms of my skin and the look that I like, I much prefer the Huda Easy Bake. So that would be my recommendation there if you have not tried this. All right, guys, let's get into skincare, a category that is near and dear to my heart. And I have three sunscreens here that I want to tell you about, as well as a facial moisturizer. I think all of these products are great. Just to go ahead and get that out of the way, this is the Major Fade Disco Block Sunscreen SPF 50 from Dr. Idris. This is a great sunscreen. It has this really wonderful whipped texture. Just put a little bit out there. And it has a lavender tint to it, which was by design to not create a white cast across a lot of different skin tones. And I think it's great that she paid attention to that. So you can see it's just this really light, lovely texture. Here, I'm gonna apply it on my arms here. It works in really well, and I think is great, especially for the warmer months when maybe you don't want to wear a moisturizer and a sunscreen. I think that you can use this all by itself to get the moisture that you need and also the sun protection that you need. This sunscreen is $38, which is comparable to the Unseen sunscreen from Supergoop. So I think very well priced, same size, same price. I love this sunscreen. It's phenomenal. Then I do have two Supergoop products here to tell you about. This is Supergoop Play Everyday Lotion. This is a sunscreen that I use mostly on, for instance, my arms if I'm going to be out running errands. This has a very traditional sunscreen feel to it, meaning that it's not that whipped texture that you get with the Dr. Idris, but it does work in really well, and it has a really lovely scent to it. It is not a sunscreen smell at all. It almost has like sort of a citrus scent to it. That is a really, really lovely everyday sunscreen that is SPF 50. And then, look, you got to protect your hands, okay? So this is the hand screen that is SPF 40. It has this great pump on it. I make a point of applying this on my hands, using this as my daytime hand moisturizer. This really goes in really well and absorbs really well. This is a really lovely hand lotion. I'm going to say use this as your hand lotion if you're going to be out running around. I have been keeping this right on my vanity so that I remember to apply it if I am going to be running out of the house. I also have a mini of this that I keep in my purse. So great for your hands. And then finally, I want to talk to you about the Dew Instant Angel Lipid Rich Facial Moisturizer. This is fragrance free. It is $44. If I am going to be going out and about over the course of the day and know that I need sunscreen, then I just use this as my moisturizer. And on days when I am just going to be working in the house, not getting out, I use this is my moisturizer. So both of these are really, really lovely products. I haven't found this to be too rich for me for summer, and my skin is pretty normal. I do not have dry skin. So I have been loving all of these products in the skincare category and am still just super happy that I picked them up. Let's talk about fragrance. My baby, the Vanilla Skin Hair and Body Fragrance Mist. I absolutely love, love, love this stuff. And part of the reason that I wanted to get this big old bottle of this stuff is because around the holiday time, I bought just a travel size of the Vanilla Skin Eau de Parfum. And so I wanted to be able to layer these up and even use this one at night before I go to bed. And this is only $38. So it's great if you love this scent, but you want sort of a more economical avenue to having this scent on your body throughout the day, at night, whatever it may be. We are going to wrap up this video today talking about eyeshadow, and I've got 3 palettes here, and then I also have these eye paints from Violette FR. I also have an invisible product over here. Let's talk about the invisible product first. If you watch me, you may already know exactly what I am talking about, and that's the Color Fix Sticks from Danessa Myricks, which I returned. The Color Fix Sticks are $38 a piece. I thought they were absolutely beautiful on the eyes. I love the packaging concept, so cool. But as I mentioned in a previous video, they actually created a stinging and burning sensation on my eyes, and I just obviously could not afford to have those even in my collection at all. So I did return those, and I am still disappointed that they didn't work out for me, to be completely honest. Let's move on to the eye paints from Violette FR. They can be used as eyeshadow or liner, and I did get 2 of them that are in blue. One of them is Ciel de Nuit, which is a matte, and the other is Bleu de Nuit, which is twinkling. And let me just swatch those very quickly for you. so gorgeous. God, I love it so much. So, of course, with these, you can, apply them and leave them this thick, right? So that you have this much color intensity. Or you can also blend them out. So that is why they're a liner and an eyeshadow. If you wanted to apply just a little bit and blend it all over the lid, you can certainly do that. And then they do dry down and they hang on very, very well. And then we have the twinkling. Sorry, I've got to clean my finger. Apply that right here. So hopefully you can see sort of that shimmering within that. This one is also absolutely stunning. They're both really beautiful, guys, and there's a whole range of colors available on these that I think are, again, pretty fabulous, okay? I'm convinced that Violet is just fabulous. These are very cool, but I don't know. I mean, you've got to have the right life for this, I think. And I don't have the right life for this. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, they perform well. There's definitely a learning curve, okay? And I think that you have to be ready to invest in learning how to use these to achieve what you want to achieve. But if you can get them there, then I think they're beautiful. So just, how patient are you as a human being? And now let's just finish up talking about 3 eyeshadow palettes that I brought into my collection recently. And we are talking about, man, this one is, whew. Okay. So we have Desert Gleam from Lisa Eldridge, Mini Gloom from Natasha Denona, and we have the Midsummer Lumiere Etendu palette from Viseart. Let's start off with Desert Gleam. I do not think this palette is worth the money. This palette cost $68. That is a pretty penny. There simply is not enough color payoff and pigmentation on these shades to warrant that kind of price tag. There just isn't, in my opinion. You buy an eyeshadow palette, you should really get a lot of color payoff from every single shade. You should be able to make a decision that you want less and you pick up less with the brush instead of having to beat your pans to death to get any payoff at all. Next up, the Mini Gloom palette, which I think is appropriately named. This palette is very muted and washed out looking when you see it in person, with the exception of this green shade here, which in my book means that there are very few high impact looks that you can create that are different, because to get high impact, you have to use this green. These mattes read very similarly on the eyes, too similarly, and that the same is true of these shimmer shades here. So I do not recommend this palette either. Final palette here, the Viseart Midsummer Lumiere Etendu. I have become a huge Viseart fan, but I will have to say that this, while it is, I believe, their newest release, is not their best work. They have been hitting it out of the park lately. So in a way, I think that this palette is sort of a victim of their recent success, because if you have tried Cyranu's Etendu or Lila's Lumiere Etendu, you might be expecting the same thing, and this palette just does not deliver that. There just aren't as many special shades. There are a number of shimmers in here, but they're pretty dry, guys. I mean, and maybe they're meant to be toppers, but I don't think that they should feel that dry to the touch. It makes it hard to pick anything up. The more traditional shimmers in here are a little bit better, okay? They still feel a little bit dry, but you can pick up a good amount of product and get more impact on the eyes, especially with this gold shade here. It's fine, okay? It's fine, but it certainly is not up to the standards of some of their more recent releases. It's not something that I am in love with, that's for sure. So that closes out our little exploration today of the many products that I have been trying over June and July. I hope that you have enjoyed this video and that it's helped you if you've been thinking about picking up any of these products. Thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you next time. Bye.